Hold on, stop. Welcome back to the Shit Show 2.0.
Okay, boomer.
Damn millennials. Wow.
Did not know that. Even flirters who are obviously mentally ill.
Oh, this is gonna go downhill real quick.
What is going on? And welcome to Take on the World with
Johnny?
I
Sorry.
was going to go first.
Let's do that over again.
I'm Lexi.
and I'm Jay. And Jay is a guest today. I think we have our EEOC recommendations today.
Times two.
We're fully millennial compliant.
2 millennials, 1 emotional support dog.
Podcast therapy dog
With arthritis.
With arthritis, yeah.
So,
Old man dog.
Jay is a person that Lexi knows.
Yeah.
She would say friend. I would say a person you know.
Yeah, that's my friend.
And Jay is going to join us today. And just chime in whenever you want.
Okay. Yeah, I don't really know a whole lot about X-Men, but if I have an interest...
Now he just gave up the topic.
That's
Oh my God.
Or is that not what we were talking
It is what we're talking about, but
No one told me not to talk about it.
you got to talk right into the mic.
Sorry, no one told me not to talk about
You
it.
can pull that up so it's like right there.
Yeah, you got this. Ollie's going to sit with you today, I think. He feels your...
My anxiety.
You could come over and sit in my seat and take my job since you're doing that already.
I apologize. My fault. I'm sorry.
We don't apologize here at all.
No, not one.
So our rules on this podcast are we talk about everything except for politics and religion.
Okay.
Because people get too emotionally involved in those two topics.
No.
I'm going to tell you what. We're talking about something that I am extremely emotionally involved in today.
What's that?
The X-Men.
Oh, that's the first I heard that.
Yeah.
That's sorry. That's odd.
Is that what we're talking about?
We were
Yeah.
talking about the X-Men. So my question, when Lexi proffered this topic to us as fodder for our little show,
Our shit show, if you will.
you're something not coming through in your mic.
I said that it's a shit show.
I heard that. I heard you.
I don't know what's going on with this. This is...
Yeah,
Tighten that little gimmick right there.
I did.
See, look at and
Just stay.
now it's staying.
Come here.
So when Lexi put this forward, my question to Lexi was, are we talking about X-Men comics? Or are we talking about X-Men movies? What is that clicking again?
I hear it. Now it's gone.
I think it might be me.
It might be. Are you a ticking time bomb?
I might be. I just tapped my headset.
That's why
and
Jay
it
brought his
stopped,
gun.
And
I've been told I'm a ticking time bomb.
No.
Maybe one.
I would say comic books.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, that's the direction I went.
I have displayed in front of us here for everybody to see my personal favorite X-Men, and maybe even just Marvel characters.
Really?
Maybe?
Really?
Yeah.
Altogether favorite?
Maybe. She might be. It's probably...
Spider-Man?
Yeah. Because, so here's the
I
thing.
love Spider-Man.
Spider-Man is pretty cool.
If we're going into like the Spider-Verse, I really love Gwen Stacy. And in the Spider-Verse, there is a Spider-Woman who is Gwen Stacy. There is a timeline where she does not die, Peter Parker dies, and she turns into Spider-Woman.
Watch your mouth.
It's one of the best timelines.
Watch your mouth.
Peter Parker turns into
Where
a
does she shoot
wizard.
her web out of?
Same place Spider-Man does, bro.
Spider-Girl. Oh, no.
And then my other probably tied character for favorite, it would be Jean Grey, Gwen Stacy, and Bucky Barnes.
Bucky Barnes.
I love the Winter Soldier.
The Winter Soldier's cool and all, but overall, I mean, you say a phrase to him and then that's it. He's no longer your friend. He's going to try to...
I love it.
I gotta rewind for a second. You're not a comic book guy at all, are you?
No.
Have you seen like Marvel movies?
Yeah.
Like a lot of them, or like
No.
two?
When we say Jean Grey, do you even know who that is?
Yes.
Okay.
Do you know because you looked it up just today,
No.
or because I have a bunch of comic books and have been talking about it?
I know she's the most powerful one.
Do you know what her?
She is.
Do you know
But she
what
needs
her?
to get her shit together.
Do you know what her original name was in X-Men?
Barry.
No. Marvel Girl.
Marvel Girl.
Marvel Girl, really?
Yes.
Yeah.
I did not know that.
So, starting this off, the X-Men comic began in 1963
Good year.
with
My dad was born shortly after that.
7 years after that. Cyclops, Marvel Girl, which is Jean Grey, a.k.a. Phoenix. The Beast, Iceman,
Beast.
Angel, later known as Archangel.
He's bad.
And they were almost named the Mutants or the Merry Mutants rather than X-Men.
I like X-Men better.
Yeah.
I don't know. Hearing someone say, oh, "The Merry Mutants, here they come!" I think that tickles my fancy a little bit better.
And the X-Men.
Well, the funny thing was Stan Lee and Jack Kirby started the comic book.
Brilliant.
Stan Lee's the writer, Jack Kirby's the illustrator.
Jack Kirby's brilliant.
Yes, but they only did it for a couple of years. But they were doing so many comic books at a time. They had to give it up.
How much do you think one of those with a signature Stanley on it would?
You could get millions for that. He's dead now.
Yeah. Something with Stan Lee's signature that
sell it for. There's no amount of money that I could sell that for.
Yeah.
So
that would be a prized possession you'd put in a safe forever.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I would if I had a comic that had Stan Lee's signature on it, I would get it professionally graded and sealed and hang it on my wall.
Yeah. It's like my 1911. My 1911 never comes out of a box.
No.
Never.
Oh man. I love taking my 1911 out.
He's like, I'll do it right now.
So Stan Lee went to the publisher and said to the publisher, "Here's this comic book I got here called The Mutants." And the publisher actually said, "Our readers are not that smart. They won't know what a mutant is." So eventually they decided that X-Men, and they called them the X-Men because they were Xavier's men. But they were all teenagers at the time when the comic book started.
Was Professor Xavier always handicapped?
No.
No, it's so
in
good.
the comic
It's
book,
good.
in the inception of the comic book, he was in a wheelchair. Yeah.
They came up with that origin later, though.
There was a couple times when he walked.
Ooch.
One time when he walked, it was due to a cortical stimulant,
Like a steroid, something like that.
a stimulator, cortical stimulator that made him be able to walk.
So you don't know anything about comics. You're just not a comic guy in general. It's not just Marvel.
There's that clicking again.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I'm just making sure because.
How
Go ahead.
involved was Stan Lee with the movies?
Stan Lee, up until he died, he had a cameo appearance in every single Marvel movie.
Oh, that's right. Yeah,
Except
okay.
one.
Yeah, except the one.
Which one?
I just read it and I can't remember it.
It was.
And he was asked why he didn't do a cameo in that movie, and I don't remember what the reason was.
We'd have to look it up because I can't remember.
I don't know. I didn't even know that.
But
he was not
I actually know something about that. Stan Lee wanted to do half-hour cameos. He actually wanted to participate in the movies, but the director was like, "How about 30 seconds instead?" And
30 minutes, 30 seconds. Okay.
Stan Lee was like, "I would rather do 30 minutes," and they were like, "How about 30 seconds?" And Stanley was like, "I see we're not going anywhere with this, so 30 seconds."
Yeah, your acting sucks, buddy.
His cameos are the best in the movie. Like,
they're so good. They're so funny. They do like little tie-ins sometimes with like the comics because he was really involved in the comics. Obviously, when everything first started coming out, he was doing them.
Yeah.
So I feel like they kind of help tie into the comic books a little bit better that way. And the other thing is, we used to play when I was a kid the Lego games. And there's a bunch of Marvel Lego games, and he's in the Marvel Lego games also. And he does like cameos like that too. And it's his voice, like it's so good. So going back and playing them is like really fun because he's dead now, so it's nice to hear Stanley.
right. I was always a huge Stanley. I'm a Spider-Man fan.
He's a Spider-Man.
Like I'm like back in the day when I used to work 8 to 4, and the other guys work 7:30 to 3:30. So when you guys usually clean up at 3 o'clock, and
I remember those days.
so I would clean up at 3:30, and that TV that was in the shop would be on Spider-Man for the last half. I'd watch Spider-Man for the last half hour as an adult,
Sitting there with your juice box and
with my juice box.
Yeah. Sounds like me.
You get him, Spidey! Like, to me, there's something very appealing about Spider-Man because while he had powers, he always got his butt whooped.
Oh yeah, 100%.
It's like the not the movie Daredevil, because that sucked really bad because of who played
That was
Daredevil.
such a good movie.
Take that back.
That's so not true.
You are not,
Elektra was in that movie.
Electra can be in that movie. Doesn't
you
make
are
it a
not
good
my
movie.
daughter.
Electra's in that movie. My name was almost Electra, so you can shut up.
Well, your name was almost Electric for Electra. The Netflix series for Daredevil
Way
is
better.
the absolute best.
Yeah.
I didn't see
They
it.
Significantly
did
better.
Daredevil the way he should have been. Daredevil took a beating. He's a blind guy fighting people who are full-sighted. He's going to get his ass whooped no matter how intuitive you are.
Yeah.
That's why, and that's why I like Batman, because Batman would take lumps.
Yeah.
Not as many as Spider, but Spider-Man would at the end of a comic, Spider-Man's suit was always ripped.
Torn, yeah.
He always had blood coming off of someplace.
Yep.
But he always prevailed. It was like the consummate "I will not give up" story.
No.
And I love that.
What did you think about the movie Into the Spider-Verse with
Did you see that one?
did
It's a
you watch
cartoon.
it?
I did not watch it.
I haven't seen it, but Gwen Stacy's in it.
Gwen Stacy
Yeah,
is in
Spider
it.
Gwen is in it.
Yeah.
I want to see it really bad. I just
It-
never got a chance to.
Yeah, it's a really good movie, and I feel like if you have the opportunity to watch it, you should definitely take that chance.
I thought you were going to say Gwen Stefani. Then I'll
Yeah.
watch it.
Gwen Stacy.
I thought Gwen Stefani was a dude.
No.
Are you sure?
Pretty sure.
Okay.
This shit is bananas. B-A-N-A-N-A-S.
I used to have to listen to that crap all the time.
Yeah, that was me.
So, in the beginning, the main villain was Magneto.
One of my favorite X-Men villains.
But here's the best thing about when they originated this comic book, and Stan Lee said this himself, that when you do a team concept, when you try to put out a comic book with a team concept in it, you have to, and it's brand new, you have to build everybody, do character development, power development for everybody else. And he said they did it. They did it by doing lazy writing, by making them all mutants. You could blanket everybody.
Yeah.
Here's how you got your powers.
Yeah.
There's no gamma rays. There's no spider bite. There's no nothing.
Gene.
It's a gene mutation.
That is the difference between a mutant and a mutate.
What?
A
A mutate, you put sour cream on top of.
A
And you
mutant.
make them.
Don't be a mutate.
A mutant.
Oh, mutate. I'm sorry. That's a quiet taint. That's someone who never farts.
my
A mutate.
A mutant is somebody who is born with their powers. A mutate is somebody who mutates, who they have a radioactive spider bite, or they are exposed to gamma radiation. Like a mutant is somebody who's born with those powers. They have that gene that's changed.
Where does Superman fall into this?
Superman is from a different.
He's a
Planet.
straight up alien.
He's an alien.
Yeah, Superman's an alien.
That was my tea, by the way. I dropped it.
I thought it was Jean.
You may
I
pick
thought
it
it
up.
was Dark Phoenix. It's
And
on my side
if you would like a beer, you can get one out of that refrigerator over there.
No, we are shooting today, so
Oh, that's right,
I will
okay.
not be drinking.
I had 2 sips of beer. I might have one.
Stop it.
I forgot.
Shoot responsibly.
No.
We are smart shooters here. So let me just go
We're
off.
shooters.
Let me just go off on a
We just let him walk around.
millennial rant for a second.
Oh God, here we go.
I am
love these.
so glad that you say mutant rather than mutant. You ever hear, like, a lot of people are so lazy when they talk?
Mountain.
Yeah.
Mountain.
I say mountain, and I also say mutant because I was always taught that was the proper way to say it.
But it's also
If you're listening to a video, which I listened to a bunch of videos on this, and the one guy, they did an excellent, they did great, it was a great video on the X-Men. But he kept on saying,
there's this guy that does I don't know if he still does videos, and I don't remember what his YouTube name is, but I remember watching this one video a couple of years ago, and it was about Rivers Cuomo and his name just left me. I can see his face. Kurt Cobain. And it was that Rivers Cuomo is Kurt Cobain. And when he would say Cuomo, he would say Cuomo. Like he would
What?
Yeah, he would give it like a different resonance, and I just every time I think of something like that, come here, buddy. I think he would see it down.
I don't know if he wants down.
Yeah, he'll be
Bye.
But yeah,
Our
anyways,
podcast therapy dog is leaving us.
he's just gonna sit down there.
I'm not sure what he's
But
doing.
I think there are some names coming up that you're gonna recognize.
Probably.
So they had to do all the character development in a single book, and not just for the heroes, but for the villains as well, which is not easy to do in something that's supposed to only grab your attention for a short period of time, which comic books, well, that's what they were meant for.
Right. There is.
There's also something I was very remiss in not following up on when I did my research, and I'm hoping Lexi will know.
I hope I know because now I feel pressure to know.
Who was the first mutant ever?
Oh my gosh.
And it's not it was before Marvel was even invented. But he at one point became an X-Men. X-person. X-Man? X-Men.
The Green Lantern.
No.
Green
The
Lantern.
Green
is
Lantern is
DC.
DC.
Yeah, that's DC Universe.
Yeah.
See, that's a good way to start a fight. That is a good way to start a fight right there.
We're saying how Green Lantern was a really good movie, and I'm just like, no, it was not.
Actually, I enjoyed it.
Did you really?
I did enjoy it. But I'm a Green Lantern fan.
Okay, all right.
So,
I personally, I think they could have done a lot better.
Wait,
with
was that the one
movie.
with Willem Dafoe?
no. Yeah, no.
That was
no,
Spider-Man?
That was Spider-Man.
That was Spider-Man. Green Lantern was done with
Spider-Man's.
Green
Ryan
Lantern
Reynolds.
was Ryan Reynolds. I couldn't remember who he was for a second.
And he did not make a good Hal Jordan. He made a good Guy Gardner. Because Guy Gardner was a goofy, kind of
Yeah,
flippant person where he did not make good.
yeah.
I think
Namor.
I think they wrote it and cast it wrong. I liked him as the Green Lantern, but as a Guy Gardner.
Okay, I see.
John's saying, what the fuck?
Y'all a bunch of goddamn nerds.
And I'm okay with that. I'm fine with that. What?
What's your issue?
Is it Namor or Apocalypse?
I don't know. 1939, and when he was introduced into a comic book as a mutant.
What, are you talking about that mutant that doesn't technically exist because as soon as you break eye contact with him, you don't remember who he is?
No, but that's Forget Me Not.
Yes, Forget Me Not. See, I broke eye contact. I forgot who he was.
And the funny thing was when I watched some of the stuff, and I got all the way to present day when they mentioned Forget Me Not, they said he's been with the X-Men since the beginning.
So yeah, since the beginning,
And
but
nobody knows
no
who he
one
is.
knows who he is.
No.
So he has the greatest superpower of all time.
So there's a lot of debate on who the first mutant is. The three names that come up in a search are Namor, Apocalypse, and Selene.
Might be Apocalypse.
I
And-
only know Apocalypse. I don't know the other two.
They're saying that Selene predated Namor by 5,000 years at least.
Well, I'm talking about in comic verse,
Yeah, I know, I am too.
1939.
Well, I mean like in the lore.
In the lore, if you go to the lore, there were what did they call them? Celestials.
Oh, the celestial beings and all
The
that.
Celestials were the ones who created the mutants with their mutation.
Submariner. Namor. What comes up?
Was he an actual X-Men?
Oh yeah.
1939 it says.
That might be it then.
John just throwing the dice out there. He's like,
Well,
Yeah.
it wasn't even Marvel Comics. It was something else. And he was the first comic book character that was a mutant.
oh, okay.
But it had nothing to do with X-Men.
Well, at one point he became part of the X-Men.
Right, but before that.
No, before that it was not.
Okay.
It was, 63 is the first of the X-Men.
And this was what, the 30s?
39. So this was 63, 1963. The other one was 1939.
Wow.
So
I didn't know there was comic books back then.
the mutants were all they're all a subspecies of human that were born with superhuman abilities that were activated by the X gene.
I actually always wanted to know. I never got too deep into the comic books, but did a mutant and another mutant have a child? Was that ever introduced into the comic books?
Oh, there's Magneto.
Okay.
Okay.
I sparked something in life.
You know Scarlet Witch.
Yes, I know Scarlet Witch.
Scarlet Witch is Magneto's daughter.
No way.
Magneto had like 4 or
Quicksilver.
5 children.
But with another
Quicksilver is
mutant?
her twin brother.
Don't know.
He goes fast.
Right, I know who Quicksilver is.
So obviously he's also that's why I was like, I think there are some names that you're gonna recognize.
No
coming
way.
up. Yeah.
I didn't
They're
actually know
Magneto's
that.
children. So have you ever seen I think it was in Days of Future Past.
Yeah, I've seen Days of Future Past.
They go back in time and they get that quick kid that runs around and everything, and then he like they're gonna shoot everybody in that one big room.
Yeah.
And he goes around and he like moves everything and all.
Yeah.
That's Quicksilver. So like there's like in that movie, like in these scenes where Magneto and Quicksilver are together.
Yeah.
There's a lot of what's the word like innuendos kind of like that this is his kid, but he doesn't know that he's Magneto's kid. Magneto knows. And unfortunately in that movie, Scarlet Witch is in the movie, but she's not Quicksilver's twin. It's his younger sister.
Okay.
So
Lexi got excited.
Yeah, she did. I did not know that, and now that I know that, I'm sure I'll be telling literally everybody.
Now I can skip over a whole part of my presentation.
You're welcome.
Sorry.
I did that.
Again.
I apologize.
Don't.
It's the best.
So it wasn't until 1966 till they added their first new member to the X-Men, and that was Mimic. But he left soon after because he had a temporary loss of power. Why he wouldn't come back? I think he does come back later on.
He was in the movie, wasn't he?
Mimic?
Mm-hmm.
I think so.
I don't know.
I've never heard of Mimic.
Pretty sure.
I like the X-Men movies, but I don't think about a whole lot of them a whole lot because Days of Future Past was my because there's a lot of X-Men movies. My favorite X-Men movie is Days of Future Past, obviously, but I don't think about the other ones a lot. Excuse me. There are a handful of them that I like, and I will watch all of them again, like if presented with the opportunity. But that one's my favorite.
I watch any of them anytime they're on. I love comic book movies. I
Even
was
if
a
they're
comic
bad,
book
I love
junkie as a youth and into my 30s.
He's not 30 now, folks.
So in April 1996, Stan Lee and Jack Kirby.
1960s.
That's what I said. I meant 66.
It's okay.
People can figure it out.
X people.
They wrote their last X-Men comic, and they gave up the X-Men to focus on. There was a bunch of books that they were doing at the time. They did Fantastic Four. They did. I forget what they were, but they wanted to focus more on the other books.
Yeah.
Sales were starting to slump on the books, and they handed off writing and illustrating to another team.
There you go. That's for you. We drove this into the ground. Take it.
What?
Because like sales slumped, so like sales were slowing down on the X-Men comics, and they were
So they were
"Oh,
just
here you go.
here,
You can do
have
that
these."
now." Yeah.
Hey, why don't you take this one?
I think you guys could do a lot with this.
Good luck.
I love them. I don't know. Like, listen.
So they introduced a couple more characters.
Tell me who they introduced because I'm gonna scream.
Havoc. Polaris.
I fucking love Polaris. Polaris is
You
another.
just cursed right in front of your father.
How dare you?
Anyways, Polaris is another one of Magneto's children.
Okay.
I love Polaris.
I don't know who Polaris is.
I used to have. Was it called The Runaways?
Well, as I mention these when I do the video editing,
Right.
I'm going to put the best illustration of these people up that I can.
Okay.
Polaris was in the X-Men animated show, and she was also in. There was a live-action TV show that they made. I can't remember what it was called, but she was in it. And the girl who played Polaris, when this show first came out and like was whatever, I had green hair, and in this show they made her have the same shade of green hair that I had at the time.
See,
It wasn't this one. It was a dark green, like it was a dark forest green.
Kind of like Rogue's hair. She always had that. She always had a weird hairstyle going on in the animated series.
She had
She had like a white stripe.
She had like the white and the
green.
red.
Oh, it was
she was
red.
red. Yeah.
I thought it was green. My bad.
No, because didn't she also have one of those headpieces? Those weird headpieces that like comes up and like it's like an M or something.
a tiara.
It's not a tiara.
Tiara.
Listen, when I hear tiara, I think of Sailor Moon, like her tiara, right? This is like it's actually like a headpiece. Like It goes on. You can still see their forehead, but it comes down in a peak right here.
Oh, I know what you're talking about.
Polaris had one of those in the animated series as well.
Okay.
Continue. Sorry,
So-
I get excited.
The addition of the new, I think they thought that the book was getting stale. They need to add new characters, and the addition of those two did not help sales of the book.
But
And
they were great.
when they got to issue 67, they started recycling old stories. So 67 and 93 issues were all
They're already
recycled
written.
stories. So there's nothing new written for that time. It's almost 3 years, I think.
Something like that, yeah. I mean, you got to figure that's almost 30 issues,
Yeah.
and a lot of comics now, I don't know how they were released back then, but now they're released either monthly, bi-monthly, or quarterly most of the time.
Well, I
I
just found out today that the original Batman show was bi-weekly. There was 2 episodes a week for the first 2 years, and then 1 episode a week for the last year. Just found out today.
That's weird.
That is kind of weird.
So usually once a month, I think they came out.
My now I know we're supposed to be talking about Marvel, but
Oh, here we go.
my favorite thing about Batman is his original like debut. It's like, yeah, my suit's made of cotton, so I can move faster. Current, you speed up to present day. It's like made of some kind of titanium alloy. I don't know.
Oh my gosh, my favorite thing.
Transparent aluminum.
My favorite thing about Batman is in the which one was it? I think it was the one that has Poison Ivy in it.
So
You
not
got way
Marvel.
more specific than that. There's like 3 of them.
You know what I'm talking
So not Marvel. You mean the movie?
about. Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Which movie was that?
Poison Ivy was in it, so was Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Yeah, he was Iceman.
Yeah, Frost.
Mr. Freeze.
Mr. Freeze.
Freeze.
Mr. Freeze. Iceman is it's Marvel.
He's trying to steer us back into the
I'm
direction we're
trying
supposed to
so
be going.
hard. But my favorite scene is he's in that stupid little helicopter and he goes and doesn't move his neck at all because he can't move his
Yeah,
neck
he
in that
can't move
costume.
his
He can't just go like this. He has to go.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
That's the best scene.
How
Okay,
can
we
you
should-
fight like that?
Back to Iceman.
How
Yeah.
can you fight like that?
It's like I can't turn my neck. Well, good luck.
They're like, figure it out. You got to do this. Oh gosh.
So in 1975,
My father was 5 years old.
huge changes came to the X-Men. New writer, new artist. Dave Cockrum was the artist, and Len Wein,
Mm,
Weenie.
Sounds right.
So they started at issue 94.
okay, hang on a second. Len Wein and Dave Cockrum.
I'm a child, I swear.
You got Wein and Cockrum.
Yes, I heard it, Lexi.
So Wein and Cockrum.
Yes.
Continue.
They basically revamped the entire series. The only person that stayed with the team then was Cyclops.
Cyclops is real good. I like Cyclops.
They were no longer teenagers.
Nope.
And they expanded the diversity of the team. You had Colossus,
I like Colossus.
who was
Okay.
Russian.
He's
You
a
had
Deadpool.
Nightcrawler, who was German.
Nightcrawler's cool.
You had Storm, who was from Kenya. And the first Thunderbird was a Native American with Apache descent.
I
Jay.
don't know who I am not of
Apache.
Apache descent. I am Blackfoot descent. And I don't know who Thunderbird is. Never heard of him before.
Neither one of them. There's 2 of them.
Neither of them. I've never
Doesn't
heard
know
of.
the name Thunderbird.
I've never heard of that name, Thunderbird, ever in my life.
And then 3 previously introduced characters. Banshee was from Ireland. Sunfire was from Japan. And Wolverine
Canada.
from Canada.
Canada.
Hey,
Hey.
I know you don't know who Wolverine is, so we'll touch on that very
I
briefly.
know who Wolverine is.
Hey, John.
Hey, Mike.
What do you think about this so far, John? Are you learning anything?
Yeah.
Are you having
I mean,
good-
some of this stuff is kind of ringing a bell, but I did not
It's too nerdy for him.
go
Yeah.
into it.
He did
like
call
you
us a
guys
bunch
did.
of nerds.
when did you say that?
Were you not paying attention? He said that like
When did I say that?
20 minutes ago.
Oh, I was too busy talking about the topic.
So, Sunfire quit after the first mission they did. And Thunderbird died after the second mission.
Sorry, Thunderbird.
That's probably why I've never heard of Thunderbird.
Well, there's 2 Thunderbirds.
Oh,
This is the first one. He died quickly.
okay.
There is another one that's introduced later.
Mm.
So Jean Grey, as Phoenix, rejoined the team. And
Amazing.
I wrote there was copious guest appearances by Angel, Beast, Iceman, Havoc, and Polarius. They would come in and out of the team from time to time in the book.
I think like the important thing to remember is that like in the movies, at least before like the last one, I feel like, or like before like the last few, I guess in the earlier ones, it kind of makes it seem like Cyclops, Phoenix, Professor X, Beast, like, you know what I mean? Like that group were the X-Men. But the important thing to remember is that the X-Men was a very large group. And Professor X had a school for mutants, for mutant children, essentially. And, like, they could go live there. It was a safe place for them where they could learn how to, like, use their powers and control them. So there were, like, a lot of other characters that came in and out of the comics or that you would see that you would pass by in the comics. At the end of this, I want to talk about my least favorite X-Men, not because I don't think she's rad, just because I think she's useless. That's Jubilee.
You don't like Jubilee?
Jubilee.
All she does is make fireworks.
Yeah, but if you use it in the right way,
Like
that
that's
power is pretty. That
that's
power is
like
useful.
if I were an X-Men, I would be Jubilee.
What do you mean? So you would be very useful.
I would be useless.
You could.
I
what
would
do you
have the
mean?
stupidest power. I like Kitty Pryde. I think she's cool. Anyways, I just really wanted to talk about the X-Men.
Apparently, in the comics, like in the movies, Kitty Pryde doesn't really hold a whole lot of.
But she does.
In the comics,
In
she
the
does.
comics, she does. She's very important.
She's very actually. She becomes part of a leader at one point.
Yeah, she is
of the
she's
team.
one of the leaders. Yeah.
I don't know who she is again.
You know what?
Kitty,
You know what?
you know who Kitty Pryde is. You know the girl who like goes through the walls. And
Oh, is that her name? Okay,
Yeah.
I never.
I thought you guys were talking about cat litter or something.
Kitty Pryde. I think that is actually cat litter.
See?
Pride, something Pride.
Told you.
Oh, yeah, I know who you're talking about now. I
Yeah.
didn't know that was her name though.
Yeah,
Okay.
and she actually plays a really important
Sounds like a
role in the
stripper.
comics. She
Strippers. Kitty Pryde. You know they were banned in Iceland in 1993.
She was a wild Icelandic stripper.
that's what we talked about last time.
The
My-
Reykjavik confessions.
Yeah, the confections. No, Reykjavik, Iceland. There was like this huge thing. You can listen.
It was
to
actually pretty good. Actually, it's a good episode. I
It
listened
is
to
very
it.
good. Is it?
Yeah.
There's a lot in that one.
How many viewers do you guys actually have? Like, is there a lot of them?
About
Viewers
1.3
or
million.
listeners?
Listeners. Sorry, podcast.
There's probably 5 or 6, maybe more.
And we are 3 of them.
Well, now you have another one because I actually didn't. Lexi never told me you guys had a podcast until like a couple of days ago,
Yeah.
and then I was like trying to find it. I couldn't find it.
You know
I'll
what?
send you a link.
I look for it when I search for it on YouTube. Now I'm like 8 episodes behind on YouTube because our internet here sucks so bad I can't upload them.
It is so
Right.
bad, Jay.
So once I have to go someplace and upload.
Okay.
If I get a chance to go down to my buddy's house, I'll use his internet. I used to go to the other person who was on the podcast. I used to go to her place and upload them and use her internet. But I can't do it here. I can't upload them to YouTube here.
Oh
No.
man.
Even on good internet, it takes like 2 hours to upload one episode.
Wow. That is nuts.
Um,
You gotta come down to
It
my
takes me
house.
like 7 days to download like 3 gigs here.
You should come down to my house. I have like 900 megabytes a second. Anything I try to uploads like that. And if I try to download something, it's already done
You
by
should
like
hang
an
out with my
hour.
millennial friend.
I spend like
Oh my God.
$109 a month on my good internet. I love it.
Pause though, because when I came to pick Jay up earlier today, all I heard from inside the door was, "You're leaving? I love you. I'm gonna miss you." From his was that your daughter?
No, that was my son.
Oh my God, Mikey.
Yeah, my kid Mikey. He loves it when I leave because then he can just scream at the top of his lungs. Mom won't yell at him.
Yeah. He's like, "Oh no, you're leaving. I love you, Dad. Bye."
And then I close the door and he's like, "Dad, I love you." And if I don't respond, oh, it gets so bad.
Yeah, I love it. It was adorable. Anyways, I just had to think about that for a second. It made me laugh.
So, the Cockrum illustrations.
Oh, what?
And then Byrne. Is it Byrne or Bernie?
I think it's Byrne.
Illustrations. And then you get to Chris Claremont, who served as the longest running writer for this for the X-Men.
Yeah.
He wrote for, it was like 12 or 13 years, and he left, and then he came back and wrote again.
When you love something.
Well, he was good at it because when he started writing, some of the best storylines that are known, the emergence of Phoenix, the death of Thunderbird,
The second one?
the first one. We're still in the 70s.
Okay.
The Saga of Starjammers, I don't know that one. And the introduction of Alpha Flight, which I do know.
Okay.
So then you come to the 80s. X-Men was the top-selling comic by that time. By the time they got to the 80s,
Tell us why.
nothing was. What do you mean? I don't know. Is there a reason, Lex? Do you know a reason?
Please enlighten us.
It was so fucking good because they had the Dark Phoenix saga.
Yeah. Which, if you look back at it, that's in the 80s, and they just made that a movie.
Yeah.
Wow.
I heard the movie wasn't great.
No.
But
it wasn't horrible
I
either.
still want to watch it. I think they could have chose somebody different for Phoenix, but I like her as an actor or actress anyway.
I watched the movie and I was confused the whole time.
That's because there's a lot of backstory.
To that story arc, you almost have to know the comic book.
Yeah.
Okay. That's probably why I was confused the whole time. Didn't understand.
Or have watched all the movies.
Every single one.
I have not watched every single X-Men movie.
Because, Phoenix, dies in the end of that one. Essentially,
That's a spoiler alert. We should have said that beforehand.
We don't do spoiler alerts. I don't care if someone's spoiled.
It's all spoiled. You're about to hear everything right here.
We're talking about the 80s.
If you don't know what happened in the 80s, bro.
Listen, some people don't have, the money for the comic books, so they don't go online to look at the comic books. They just watch the movies. Which
Devlin
is
does not
I
have
did.
money for comic books, and you know what? He still reads them.
Listen, that's because he pirates everything.
Yeah, he does.
He's being illegal. And
Well, I can't have
him.
a part of that.
Yeah.
No illegalness here.
No illegalness.
I've never done
someone called a
anything
SWAT
illegal.
team.
I called him out on it. I was like, yo, bro, that's really illegal. And he was like, whatever. I'm a badass. I'm a rebel. I was like, Devlin's such a rebel.
So, do you know the Dark Phoenix saga arc?
Well, what I was going to try to explain is that Jean Grey and the Phoenix are two separate entities. And Jean Grey is essentially, at some point she is fully possessed by the Phoenix, and sometimes she's not. So, there are some parts of, different stories where she's, really destructive and, really, Dark Phoenix is, the darkness that Phoenix, it's actually Phoenix.
Right,
You know what I mean? I just wanted to kind of explain that because...
So is she good or bad?
Exactly.
We still don't know.
Good question.
Exactly.
It's
You see,
definitely a
when
good
she
question.
looks like my statue up there, when she has the red and yellow, she's bad. When she has the green and yellow, she's good.
Alrighty then.
The green and yellow are the X-Men colors.
So you just have a statue
Blue.
of some evil chick.
Blue and gold.
Some of them are blue and yellow, some of them are green and yellow. It depends
Well,
when.
if you come to the 90s with me,
I was
love
born.
the 90s.
when we get to the
I was
90s,
born. You guys, that's it. I was born.
when you get to the 90s, you'll see that there is a team blue and a team gold.
Yes, and now there are comics for blue, gold, red, and I think black.
That's just ridiculous.
No, because it goes through different timelines.
I know. We'll get to that. We'll get there.
I can't. I'm just so excited.
I'm so confused right now.
Really?
I don't know what you guys are
That's why I was
talking
We're
trying
about.
still back in the 80s.
That's why I was trying to explain to you a little bit about
that
the
I got.
Phoenix,
Okay.
About the Phoenix, because it is a little bit confusing, but since she's my favorite, I had to kind of explain it. Also, there's bad X-Men as well.
Well, yeah.
I mean, there's a bad group, X-Men, turn and join Magneto.
Well, Magneto is at one point becomes part of the X-Men, and
Yes.
actually he's their leader.
Yeah.
And Magneto, We'll get to Magneto and
Just because like 3 different people are writing this.
oh, there's more than 3 people.
It's because
Magneto's a complex
everybody
character.
wants to tell their own story, right? So like everybody, I think that's why different timelines and stuff come into comic books in general, because like everybody kind of wants to tell their own story, and
Well, they write the time travel into these.
they do, and I think in X-Men it's done very well.
Yes.
I
Like they bring later on we'll find out that they bring the original X-Men from the 60s into the future.
yeah.
And it takes them a long time and at one point they turn bad and at one point they're good and at one point everybody works together to get them back to where they belong.
Yeah, because you got to figure like if in a lot of these comic books where they're doing time travel, if you're taking somebody from the past and you're putting them in the future, a lot of the things in the future are probably they don't agree with or whatever. Like it's a different like political climate in the comic book universe. John.
I'm sorry, I was thinking
Sounds like-
something else.
Wait, we don't talk politics. Bad, Lexi.
No, not like real politics.
You
comic book
guys are
politics.
really nerds. You take this too serious.
I do. I take it very seriously.
What was one of the characters from the 60s they would have brought back?
They brought the original
Yeah,
The original
name
team,
Cyclops.
Cyclops.
Like, damn it, where's Cyclops? He's in there eating McDonald's again, watching Pornhub. Get off the computer, Cyclops!
The put your visor
Why'd
back
you
on.
put the porn off? Really? Don't go blind.
Oh God.
But
You'll go blind.
so there's
Cyclops.
in the 80s there's a couple very relevant arcs. The Days of Future Past arc is from the 80s. God Loves Man Kills it becomes the basis for one of the movies. So like you have 3 movies right there in 1980 to 87.
Did they make any movies in the 80s?
Any X-Men movies?
Yeah.
There was one before the current good X-Men movies, wasn't there? There were like a couple.
Yeah,
at least.
I did not cover the movies at all.
Yeah, so we're just talking
We'll just do
strictly
that next
comic
time.
book then.
That'll be my topic next time, John. The movies.
Movies.
So you have a bunch of spin-off comic books coming out in the 80s too. The New Mutants, Alpha Flight, X Factor, Excalibur, and the solo title for Wolverine. And now at this point, Wolverine is the most popular character
Absolutely.
in the Marvel universe. He is eventually surpassed by someone.
Deadpool.
No, it's actually not a guy that I ever thought. But we'll get.
Oh,
I
okay.
can't wait. Oh my God, I'm so excited. Can talk about a couple of my other
Then they started doing
favorites.
crossover books too. So they would do what the bookstore, the comic book stores would call X books.
Yeah.
So the storylines would cross over into 3 or 4 books, which would get you to buy 3 or 4 different books.
That's what they do now all the time.
So during this time, the additions to the team were Kitty Pryde,
Also known as Shadowcat.
yeah, Shadowcast, Rogue, Jean Grey as Phoenix, Psylocke,
That looks good. I like that one.
Dazzler, Longshot, Jubilee, Lexi's favorite, Forge, Gambit. Gambit was one of my
I
favorites.
love
Gambit.
Gambit's so cool.
So going
His
back to the
character's cool.
Kitty Pryde statement,
Yeah.
the reason why I didn't know who you were talking about is because I only knew her by Shadowcat.
Really?
Yeah, that's what I knew her by. I did not know her by Kitty Pryde.
There you go. Her actual name is Kitty Pryde.
Did not know that.
Madeline Pryor? Don't know that one.
Oh, Pryor. I know Pryor. Who? Oh man, Pryor.
And then for the villain side, they introduced Apocalypse,
Apocalypse.
Mr. Sinister,
Arguably the first.
Mojo, and Sabretooth.
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 Yeah, Sabretooth.
So is it actually true that Sabretooth and Wolverine are, related? Because I've been told many a time that they're not.
Don't think that they are.
They said that in the movie they grew up as brothers and they fought together, and then everyone's like, no, that's not true.
Maybe.
And I have
Well, in
no
one of the
idea.
movies, he had a brother.
Yeah, in the movie, it's the one where they inject
Logan.
him with no, not Logan.
The one before Logan.
No, it was the one where they finally give him the adamantine skeleton, and it was like he has a brother.
You know what adamantium is?
No.
It's a
His knives that come, Wolverine's knives that come out,
Is that the metal he's made out of?
it's the metal that they coated his bones with.
Yeah.
So Maddie Pryor was actually the first wife of Cyclops.
I wonder how that eye-to-eye contact was. Look me in the eyes.
Okay, she's a clone of Jean Grey.
Oh, okay.
That makes sense.
Right, that makes sense as why he would marry her because he can't get the real Jean.
Right.
She's also considered a supervillain.
Oh.
And Cable is her son.
Cable?
Mm-hmm.
Huh.
Wow.
I
Did not
knew that,
expect that.
but Pryor, that last name, there's somebody else in the universe that has that
Richard Pryor.
name. Not in the real universe.
So we come to the 90s, and that ushers in the blue team, which is led by Cyclops, the gold team, which is led by Storm.
Oh.
First issue of second X-Men series was written by Claremont and drawn. It was drawn, and he also had part of the writing was Jim Lee. And Jim Lee.
It's pronounced Gimli.
What? Isn't that like a troll or something?
Yeah.
Genghis.
Genghis
Khan.
Genghis.
Anyways, Jim Lee.
Jim
You
Lee.
got ginger.
And that's when they made the Guinness Book of World Record for the best-selling comic book of all time.
Awesome. Because you know why? Because it's good.
I was, as much as I'm into this, I was not an X-Men fan ever.
Really?
No.
That's because you're a spider dude.
I
feel like Spider-Man and the X-Men, they don't really, like, they're...
I went more independent comics than Marvel and DC. Like, I love Spider-Man. And I have tons of Spider-Man comics.
Yeah,
Didn't they make a movie where all these characters got together?
That was Avengers.
That was Avengers Endgame, and it was probably one of the best Avengers.
I think Avengers was really good. That was Civil War. He's thinking of Civil War for the first one that happened.
Oh yeah, you're talking. Oh, do you mean like when Spider-Man showed up the first time and all that? Yeah,
He catches Captain America's shield.
Yeah, that was Civil War.
My favorite part of that movie is when Captain America and Winter Soldier are being the shit out of Iron Man with the shield.
Yeah, that is pretty good. You ever see the memes of it? It's just two elderly men just beating the shit out of an orphan. I'm just like, wow, what? I click on the link and it's just Captain America just beating the hell out of Iron Man.
So good. I love that. That's a different topic. Continue.
So, you had X-Force comic come out, the New Mutants. New Mutants were led by Cable, and then you had crossover books. You had the Extinction Agenda, Mer Island Saga, Executioner Song. Executioner Song is actually a series that I do own.
Really?
Yes.
I'd like to read that.
No.
No, he says.
Fatal Attractions, Phalanx Covenant.
That was in the year that I was born.
Legion Quest, Age of Apocalypse, Onslaught, Operation Zero Tolerance.
Apocalypse.
And I think it was about this time when people were saying there's just too many crossovers. There's a lot of criticism of it. That, you're just forcing everybody to buy all these other books. And the fact is that it worked because the revenue for the X-Men was way up due to a lot because of the crossovers.
Right. So did they end up stopping the crossovers because everyone was
No,
like,
they
hey,
still do
stop that,
Or...
crossovers.
They do it all the time.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
I don't think it's as many as it was in the 90s. The 90s, there were so many. It was like every couple months there was a new crossover arc coming out.
I own a lot of the Spider-Gwen series. And in that series, they cross over with, I think it's with Miles Morales Spider-Man and also with Spider-Woman. So I have like a couple different kinds of comics, you know what I mean? Like, that are all in with my Spider-Gwen comics because this is how they go in order. But they're not actually.
See, I was like big into that, like when Image started.
Image, yeah.
When Image Comics, so Spawn. And,
yeah. Spawn was a good one.
I only ever saw the movie.
Punisher.
You were just talking about that the other day. Punisher?
Or, no, Lobo.
Oh, Lobo.
Lobo was an Image comic.
Yeah, Lobo was Image.
So, during the 90s, you had Gambit, who was introduced, Cable, Bishop, and Gambit became one of the most popular. Here's the one. His fan base for Gambit actually rivaled and surpassed Wolverine.
Oh, is that the one?
Oh, okay.
That makes sense though. In a
Gambit
way,
is-
Gambit was really badass. He
He
pretty
was
cool.
a badass. I'm not exactly sure onto what his power was. He could like transfer energy into objects and make them explode, if I remember correctly. And I feel like that's why everyone liked him, because he was just destructive. He had
And
more.
he was
He had
also
more.
from, wasn't he from New Orleans?
New Orleans.
New
I
Orleans?
cover that later.
Arrow.
He's got that.
He is pretty cool though.
He's from Baton Rouge.
Baton Rouge.
Let's see. More additions to the team. Joseph. Don't know that one. Maggot. Maggot. Michael. How that taste? Morrow. Don't know that one. The new Thunderbird.
Jeez.
So yeah, the new generation of students was considered Generation X, and that's Jubilee and
Ooh.
other Teenage Mutants. Ex-villainess Emma Frost joined the X-Men.
Yeah, she was
What?
one of the teachers.
She joined the school. Not
Yeah.
that she wasn't actually a mainstay on the X-Men.
I don't think so.
And then we get to 2000s. So they decided that they wanted to get rid of the spandex and bright colors and went to black letter. We're just gonna walk around with badass.
Yeah.
That did,
Assless chaps.
that did
This
not
is-
that did not last long.
No,
It was not well received.
No, you're changing like a classic.
Yeah.
People don't like that.
Yeah, if I remember correctly, there was a huge uproar when they did do it, and then when they were like, "Well, we'll go back," and everyone was like, "No, you can't go back now." They were just like, "We're confused. What do we do?"
So that's when Emma Frost became part of the X-Men.
That's because they were wearing badass clothes, and Emma Frost was like, I'll join your little team now.
Husk, North Star, and Juggernaut became one of the X-Men.
I'm a juggernaut,
What,
bitch!
X-Men? I didn't know that. I always thought he was against the X-Men.
I think he was a villain for a while.
No, I know he is I know he is a villain, but I
Yeah.
didn't know he was part of the
I think he
X-Men.
joined the
And isn't he one of the only few like X-Men or supervillains that don't actually have a mutant power? It's his suit that he wears that gives him
Yes.
his ability.
Yes.
So he's just a normal guy in a
Yep.
big suit.
Who, Juggernaut?
Yeah.
I don't know that.
He's not a mutant.
Yeah, he's just a normal guy. He's just a really big guy, and
Yeah.
then someone was like, here's this really cool experimental suit," and he put it on, and he became the Juggernaut.
Yeah.
And he can't get it off now? Or?
I don't
Became
know.
the juggernaut, bitch.
I don't know if he can't get it off. I just know that he doesn't take it off.
Would you?
But he smells wonderful.
Yeah.
How am I not taking anything off? Somebody's gonna try to kill me. They're like, I bet I can kill the juggernaut.
Yeah, right. Just
He's
takes
like
it off.
indestructible.
He's just like, long day of work. Takes his helmet off. He's like,
Someone
well,
just shoots him in
actually,
the head. Come on.
So Claremont returned,
Of course.
but he wasn't writing for Uncanny X-Men. He was just writing Extreme.
Yeah.
And then in 2004, he was back at the helm of Uncanny X-Men. And the more traditional uniforms came back because people hated the black. And then, so here's where you start resurrecting people.
I can't wait.
They resurrect, it's like Colossus,
Mm-hmm.
Psylocke,
Yes, that looks cool.
a new death for Jean Grey,
Jean Grey dies again.
again, and later returned in X-Men Phoenix Endsong. Emma Frost became the headmaster of the universe, for the Institute.
The universe.
The universe just takes over.
Oh, then there was a storyline where it was basically a genocide of X-Men.
Yes.
So like 98% of the mutant population was, their powers were taken from them, or they
That's
were
what
killed.
that TV show was about. The one that I was saying has Polaris in it.
Okay.
I can't remember if it was called The Runaways or something like that. I don't think it's The Runaways. I think that's a different show.
Yeah, I think you're right.
So this is 2004 to 2007, and they have notable additions. Is Armor, Pixie, Warpath, who I always liked.
Lady Mastermind.
New villains.
My
No,
favorite,
former villain,
Mystique.
Mystique.
I love the Steve.
I thought Mystique was part of the
Sabretooth.
original.
No.
Cybertooth?
Yes.
Again. Cybertooth.
And
The Gifted, that's what it's called. It's called The Gifted.
The notable arcs was The Gifted,
Yep.
The House of M, Deadly Genesis, and Endangered Species.
It's called The Gifted. For anybody that wants to watch that show, it's really, really good. Polaris is a badass. I forget who her boyfriend in that is. I can't remember who it was. But it was good.
It's okay. They'll just have to watch it and find out.
So in 2007, there was a story arc where the Xavier Institute was destroyed. They disbanded the X-Men, and then Cyclops took leadership and moved them to San Francisco. And Magneto joined the X-Men, which I don't get.
He is against everything that they're for.
But he's not. Here's the thing.
He wants to do it differently.
If you look into where Magneto came from, Magneto was a Holocaust survivor.
Yes.
So what he saw was the X-Men being treated the same way the Jews were in Nazi Germany. And he was railing against that. And he felt that he could do anything in his power to prevent the same thing happening to the mutants that happened to the Jews. He was going to do it. He didn't care what it took.
Right.
So the ends justified the means.
Right.
That makes sense.
And his end was, I guess we're just going to come out on top and rule the world.
Right.
Because it's either that or we get genocided.
Basically.
In his mind.
Yeah.
We're not inferior to everybody. The humans are inferior to us.
Right. And that came from his hatred of the treatment.
Yeah. So,
I would argue he's an anti-hero. Not a villain.
In some instances, he is.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because it's not that he hates.
Overall.
He doesn't hate all humans. He just
hates the way that
he just hates.
treated.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
So, Magneto joined. Notable additions during this time were Pixie, and this is just still during the 2000s.
There's
Karma,
Namor.
Sunspot, Magma, Magic, Namor.
Domino.
Domino!
I freaking love Domino.
Domino is in
She's
Deadpool.
in Deadpool 2, yeah.
Domino, Boom Boom.
I actually knew Domino before Deadpool 2, and when I found out that they were introducing her into Deadpool 2, I liked that movie even better.
Yeah. Phantom X and X-23.
X-23.
X-23 is a female Wolverine, basically.
Yeah.
Oh, that
She only has two blades coming out?
That's the chick from Logan, the movie, right?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And notable story arcs were Divided We Stand, which was the basis for a movie. Manifest Destiny, Nation X, Utopia, and whatever that says.
Ex Infernus and Necrosha.
So 2011.
We're catching up here. This is only 10 years ago. And let me say that again. 2011 was 10 years ago.
Yeah, we get it. We're all shut up.
Let's see. There's a fallout. There's a story arc. The X-Men Schism. Cyclops and Wolverine have a fallout. Wolverine takes his ball and goes home to New York, where the original school was, rebuilds the institute, and names it the Jean Grey School for Higher Learning.
Because
he loves Jean Grey.
Two people want to get with Jean. She's dead right now.
She should. Well, if she wasn't dead at that point, she should have just dated both of them beforehand. Then I wouldn't have that problem.
I think she did date Cyclops.
I thought she was married. I thought he was married to or she was married to Cyclops.
It's possible.
They had a little thingy thing.
Yeah.
I always thought they were. I always thought they were together, and that's why Wolverine was always so angry at him.
They were together for a while, I think. I don't. Let's just.
So you had now you had two schools. You had Cyclops School in San Francisco, and you had Wolverine's school in New York.
After the schism.
Yeah. Notable additions to the X-Men were Warbird and Blink. Cool. Notable storylines was the Avengers versus the X-Men.
Which is pretty cool.
Wait, they went hand to hand with each other at one point?
Yeah. I actually think I have that series because I was an Avengers fan.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense. That's actually interesting.
I think I bought the crossovers. Now, I know I sold some of my comic books to a kid who was in the Navy.
Yeah.
What else are you gonna do in the Navy?
Well, it was during the
Sit
Gulf
on a
War,
boat?
so I sold them to them real cheap, sent them to the APO, and they went over to Iraq, and a lot of guys got to read comic books,
Yeah.
and it's a big thing. So
yeah.
Yeah, it
That's
gives
something-
them it's morale
something to
boost.
do.
Yeah, something to do.
Other than war.
I sent them some cigars too.
Oh, I remember that.
So now they're going to relaunch everything in 2012. They shut down everything.
Oh.
All the X-Men comics were canceled, and they made a new flagship, which was the All New X-Men.
Mm-hmm.
And then they launched that with the 5 original members, who were brought to present day by the time travel.
Baby.
So it's the original 5 members brought to present day. And then they relaunch Uncanny X-Men. They relaunch. Oh, that's when they moved to the Weapon X factory facility, and that's where the new school was. And the Weapon X facility is where
Wolverine got his skeleton.
where Wolverine got his skeleton, and that's
Adamantium.
John just blinking.
He has
Blink
a
twice if you understand.
he has a metal skeleton.
He loses it at one point.
Yeah.
And he only has bones coming out instead of blades.
Yeah. Because he goes back in
I remember.
Then he eventually dies.
Yes, but there's also another book out there called Old Man
Old Man Logan.
Logan.
It's supposed to be really good.
And
They
what
say
it
he's an
is
old man.
Is it like
it's a different timeline. It's a different.
It's like Logan.
It's like a part of the multiverse. It's a different Earth.
Bags groceries at the local
But-
Walmart.
All the X-Men were defeated, and he's trudging around
He's
this.
the only one.
He's trudging around this Earth, just doing what he can to battle. But he's an old guy
Yeah, he's an old
But
man.
how did he age? Because
he. Here's how he ages.
Actually, if we're gonna get into it, I might as well just buy the book or the comic series or whatever.
Well, he ages slowly
Okay,
because his cells regenerate.
right.
They don't replace.
Ah, I see, and that's why he's lived for so long.
That's why he's lived for so long.
Okay.
But
That's why Ali still looks so young.
Yes, that's it. He slowly ages.
Okay.
That was evident with the Old Man Logan comic.
I know we're getting a bit off topic when I ask this question, but what about Deadpool then? Does his cells replace and regenerate?
I think he's regenerative.
Well, no, he has he's
Yeah.
he is regenerative.
He's
But like,
regenerative. Well, if you read the comics, at one point, Wolverine was like destroyed,
okay,
and there was an alien thing that regenerated from a single drop of his blood, and that's how he was rebuilt.
Yeah.
At one point, Juggernaut, I think it was Juggernaut, tore him in half.
Wolverine.
Deadpool was also torn in half.
Yes, I remember
Yeah.
that.
But he regenerates.
Okay. Oh, interesting.
So his cells repair themselves, but they do not build new cells.
Gotcha. Okay.
So he will slowly age. That's the explanation I got from the video I watched yesterday.
Gotcha.
So at this time, there was an all-female X-Men book launch too.
My jam.
Astonishing X-Men was canceled and replaced with another flagship, Amazing X-Men. Featured returning Nightcrawler. 2013 was the 50th anniversary. Woo!
Doesn't that make you feel old?
Yes. No, not at all. Both
51?
both of the schools, the Weapons X facility, which was a school, and the
Jean Grey Institute of Higher Learning.
Jean Grey School, Institute of Learning Higher, they decided they were going to send the original X-Men back to their own time.
Yeah, they were like, you guys gotta leave. Bye.
You guys are out of here.
Later.
You don't have to go home, but you can't stay here. Death of Wolverine story arc. Killed off Wolverine.
Which I'm sure caused a few problems because everyone loves Wolverine.
Yeah, but he lives on in other books.
Yeah.
No, yeah.
Because you gotta remember, like, there were so many. So this is the thing that like this is the reason why I don't just like buy a bunch of X-Men comics because there's so many different
Yeah.
X-Men comics. You kind of have to pick out like the important arcs and buy those, in my opinion.
So the notable X-Men added were Firestar and M. Notable storylines in 12, 13, and 14 were Battle of Atom, Death of Wolverine, Axis, and the Black Vortex.
Who is M? I know Firestar. I don't know M.
If I can give you a picture of him.
I just have no idea
Yeah,
who that is.
Badass.
She looks awesome.
Fictional superheroine, a mutant appearing in American comic books, part of the style. La, 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 la. Uncanny X-Men. In September 1994 is when she was introduced. She was originally a member of Teenage Mutant Generation X, later X Factor and X-Men. For a time, she was impersonated by her younger sisters Nicole and Claudette. Monet is
That fucking Claudette.
Monet is a Muslim superhero and has illustrated the struggle of accepting different people central to X-Men stories. What are her powers?
I don't know.
I think it would say here, wouldn't it?
Yeah, I think you have to scroll down a little bit.
Ah, here you go. Abilities.
Superhuman strength, speed, agility, dexterity, reflexes. So she's just overall like a super.
Yeah, she's just a superhuman.
That's what I would just call
she
her.
has
Almost
a,
like martial law.
She has a lot of super abilities right there. That is nuts.
Telepathy?
Where do you see? All the way at the bottom.
Telekinesis.
Oh my god! So
Supernetic.
she's like strong Jean Grey. She's like super strong Jean Grey.
That's
but
crazy.
Jean Grey is considered an Omega power.
Yeah.
Where she's not.
No.
Do you think they could go toe to toe?
No.
No, Jean Grey would kill her.
Yeah.
You think so?
Well, this is part of the issue with Jean Grey is because she has the Phoenix living inside of her. The Phoenix is like a god essentially.
Right.
It's so powerful.
I am God.
Yeah. That's why like at the end of that X-Men movie she dies. And she's then like the Phoenix takes over kind of like her body's dead, but the Phoenix is.
Yeah, the Phoenix is like perfect. Now we have a vessel.
A vessel. Yeah.
So in 15, X-23 got a solo series and took on the mantle of Wolverine. Team books were launched, second volume of All New X-Men, fourth volume of Uncanny X-Men, and Extraordinary X-Men.
So many X-Men.
Old Man Logan got his own ongoing series. And that was in an alternate universe. It was Wolverine in an alternate universe.
Right, because he's dead right now.
The Inhumans versus X-Men story arc began. Beast worked alongside the Inhumans in an attempt to find a way to alter the state of the Terrigen Cloud, but discovered that it couldn't be altered. The Terrigen Cloud did something to the mutants.
Didn't it like disable their powers?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
So when the X-Men realized that's what they were doing, X-Men declared war on the Inhumans, and that lasted for a year.
And then Apocalypse.
Yeah. 2016, Apocalypse Wars, Death of X story.
16, 17. We're getting close. Okay. Now that we're in 2017, this is when this particular series of Phoenix Resurrection happens. And it is effed up. So, essentially, like, the Phoenix is awakened, resurrects in this lady named Jean Grey. She has no idea what's happening. She's essentially, like, reborn, like a reborn human, kind of.
Yeah.
And she doesn't know what's happening. She doesn't have any memories of the X-Men or anything. She doesn't have any memories of being a Phoenix at this point.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
That's not good at all.
So 2017 is when that book started.
Yes. This one, I believe, is 2017 or 2018. This one up here is it kind of coincides with this arc. This one specifically was released in 2017. And then this one was 2017 or 2018. These all happened around the same time, shortly after that. And then, of course,
my notes say that Kitty Pryde became the leader of the X-Men.
Mhm.
Solo series for Cable, which
Mhm.
I remember.
Yep.
Jean Grey and Iceman.
Yeah. And then this is also an X-Men Blue, Gold, and Red.
Yeah, I don't know about that.
It's just following different X-Men teams.
Right. It's just a way to sell a different book.
Yeah, right. But at the same time, it's like, oh, if you really like the team led by this person, you want to read this series. If you really like the team led by this person, you want to read this series. And if you like the team led by this person, you want to read this series. And then these comics tie into, I think, Gold. I think the Jean Grey comics, tie in with Gold. I'm not sure.
So in this time frame, Charles Xavier was resurrected. Cyclops was resurrected. Wolverine was resurrected.
Jean
Grey
Grey
was resurrected.
Yeah. Everyone. Every important person was resurrected.
Notable additions: Wolfsbane and Multiple Man. Story arcs of the Phoenix Resurrection. Extermination. Hunt for Wolverine. Return of Wolverine. X-Men Disassembled. Age of X-Men. Story arc. So at 19, they canceled them all again.
Yep.
And
Jesus Christ.
well, they just stopped for a reset.
Right. Like, they just essentially stop writing those specific story arcs and start over. And they do this a lot in the comic book industry because, like I said, everybody wants to tell their own story of the same happening. You know?
That brings us up pretty much to present day.
Right.
And I wrote this here. Well, it was only supposed to be a comic book that's supposed to entertain. These books, specifically the X-Men,
Oh my God, yeah.
going back to the beginning, they touch on a
They're
lot
so
of
beautiful.
social issues,
Racism.
racism. I mean, and
Discrimination.
because well,
Should name them X people.
I think X-Men is fine.
the comic series is very LGBTQ.
Yeah. They're
friendly.
very inclusive. Is the term that
They
people
touch
like
on
to use.
anti-Semitism with Magneto's Holocaust survivor.
Yep.
I have here a list of the diversity. You have characters from the X-Men mythos come from a wide variety of nationalities. That goes back to the first reset of the comics.
Yeah. In the 70s.
In the 70s. And so you have Magneto and, I don't know, Sarva
Savra.
were Jewish descent. Dustin M. are Muslim. Nightcrawler's devout Catholic. Neil Shara / Thunderbird is Hindu. Jubilee is Chinese American. Gambit is Cajun. Rogue is from Mississippi Southern there.
Yep.
Warpath and the first Firebird were Native American Apache. Storm was African American and Kenyan. Karma was a devout Catholic from Vietnam. And the list goes on and on and on and on of the diversity of the characters in this book. And and that's why I think it's had such a wide following. Because it touches just about every corner of society.
I feel like X-Men does it in a good way.
Yeah, they don't try to shove it down.
It's not shoved down your throat. It's just this is life, and that's the way.
This is just the backstory of a character.
I think if the world was more like
I think if the world was more like the X-Men, it would be a better place.
Yes, absolutely.
I love the X-Men.
The LGBTQ, I mentioned that. You have gay and lesbian, bisexual characters, and they even go to say like it stretches into transgender with the shapeshifters.
Yeah,
Mystique, Copycat, Courier. Although I think that's a stretch. Personally, I think it's a stretch. A shapeshifter isn't really
a shapeshifter.
They're not really human, I would argue.
No, they're definitely
mutants.
Yeah, they're
mutants. Like they're human,
like they have a standard form that they would normally take, but if they're not comfortable, like Mystique, she's not comfortable with her normal form.
She's not comfortable,
so she changes it. Yeah, so she changes it.
Well, at one time, Mystique was living as a man married to a woman.
Yeah,
I did not know that.
Yeah.
So they touch on genocide with some of their story arcs, specifically with Magneto's background, the Holocaust.
Mm-hmm.
The story arc where they basically genocided half of the mutant 98% of the mutant population. And that's this. I wrote this too. I've always said that comic books are much, much more than just entertainment. I've always loved comic books. When I was a kid and like my childhood and youth wasn't quite the rosy picture that some may have had.
Like me, I had a great.
I I would delve into comic books and it would take me away. But it also gives you a chance to look at another reality and see things from another perspective. And that may, to some people, be too deep. You know, that's just too deep for a comic book. It's just a comic book. It's not just a comic book. It never was to me.
Yeah.
A comic book is what you make it.
Yeah.
John's not into comic books the way we are, so he might think I'm talking straight out my ass right now. But
John talks straight out his ass every day.
a lot of this stuff that comes from my imagination has come from stuff that I've read in comic books.
Absolutely.
From what you're saying about not being able to express or not having a greatest childhood, so you dove into comic books. I did something similar. I would read like mangas and stuff like that, and I'd watch anime because I felt like if I watched that, I could escape from reality. Just even for like a half hour, it was better.
I read hundreds and hundreds of sci-fi fantasy books.
Yeah.
Like, I read almost every Piers Anthony book that's ever hit the shelf.
Didn't you used to read a lot of the Star Wars Extended Universe books too?
Yeah.
Like before they changed to the Extended Universe?
Yep.
Star Wars is pretty good too. On another note.
Everything before like 1990. Cause once I started working in the jail and whatnot,
You got married, you had a kid.
I didn't read as
got a
much.
house.
But before that, I always read. I always had a book.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Whether it was a comic book or
I mean, I remember when I was a kid, you and Mom read Lost. I remember, like, those books were huge. I remember those books being in
I
the
didn't
house.
know. Or when you say Lost, you mean like
Yeah,
the
series.
the TV series?
Yeah.
I didn't know it was a book.
Mhm.
I always just thought someone was like, "Hey, Lost." Just we're just writing it up their ass the whole time.
I think a future episode for us is going to be how lame Hollywood is anymore.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
We just had that
We
discussion the other day.
Hollywood's just recycling old crap.
just for Jay, because Jay doesn't know where this all started. This podcast started with me and John and a couple other guys in our shop at lunchtime, bullshitting about the dumbest shit, and we bust each other's chops. We have fun, and it just, with the stress of our job, it helped you get through the day,
Right.
and those conversations are what led John and I to want to do this. And sometimes we're serious, and sometimes we do a serious topic, but we try not to take things too seriously because we just want to have a good time.
Yeah.
We just want to relax. This is an outlet for us to take some of the mass amount of stress from our job,
Yeah,
and filter it someplace and have fun doing it, and sometimes be stupid and just act idiotic.
Yeah.
And not worry about anybody's feelings because, well, we don't give a shit about anybody's feelings.
I feel that on a whole other level.
But also, that's kind of why I picked this for my topic this week, because it's a fun topic. It's something that is, like, I feel like there's an X-Men that everybody can relate to. Like,
Absolutely.
they all have different backstories. They all have different upbringings. Some of their parents were accepting of them. Some of them weren't. Some of them are orphans. Some of them were
like Jean
abandoned.
Grey. Jean Grey's father blamed Jean for his wife's death.
Yeah.
And he said, "Look, take her. I can't deal with it."
Yeah. And I feel like, that, like, some of these characters, like, their story arcs, they go through all this and they talk about, like, their guilt and everything, or like with Magneto, like with Survivor's guilt, just feeling like I don't want somebody else to have to go through this again. So even though there are serious, like, topics inside of it, I just feel like X-Men as a whole is just so fun. Like, everybody can relate to somebody, and there are so many good story arcs, and there are so many good comics, and just like you could go on and on and on about, like, oh, I really like the work that this one did, or like, oh, I have this issue that has an alternate cover that's done by this person. Like, I follow a lot of comic book artists on Twitter, and they'll post, like, so-and-so asked me to do a cover for this, or you know what I mean? Like, and it's just cool. Like, there's so many different people involved in creating things.
Sci-fi fantasy art has always been a thing for me too.
Yeah.
Just because number one, the way they draw women, I dig it. I'm just saying.
Listen, Jean Grey's thick. I love it.
But just the style of art, to me, it's always great. I love it.
Yeah.
And when I pull up some of the pictures to put on here to some of the people I've mentioned, I am going to find the coolest piece of art I can to throw up on the screen because,
like this.
Yes, like, did you know that Elvis is still alive and he sent us a well wish for our show?
How
gosh.
interesting.
I love X-Men. I love comic books.
Our second episode was pop culture myths or conspiracies.
And did you hear that conspiracy about Elvis?
Which one?
No, the most recent one I have heard is that they found a homeless man, a deceased homeless man under a bridge, and while trying to figure out who they were, his DNA was 98% identical to Elvis Presley's.
Huh. So they found a deceased homeless person under a bridge, and when they were poking at him, he said, "Hey, you ain't nothing but a hound dog."
Yeah, it was huge, and then everyone was like, "Hey, stop doing that." And
stop poking him.
They were like, "Quit it! Stop doing DNA testing! Stop it now!
You can't take his shoes."
I was like, "There's no way."
Not his blue suede shoe.
That may or may not be Elvis, but don't touch his blue suede shoe.
So his rhinestone coat on.
Yes.
Oh, gosh, as a homeless person under a bridge.
So,
Jailhouse rock.
That's what he says. You rock my jailhouse.
Yeah.
Hell yeah. So you may not have learned something about the X-Men.
I sure did.
I hope you love the X-Men now,
I'm
John.
confused as fuck.
You know what? No problem. You can borrow some of my comics.
Definitely pick up on the movies. They're not 100% accurate, but
you are not putting them pasty fingers on any of my comics.
No,
I don't know where they've been. Maybe he's right. Maybe he's right.
You got to put some gloves on before you touch them.
Who knows where that hand has been?
Here's your book back, Michael.
It's like sopping wet, like just dripping with some unknown substance.
What the fuck did you do to my book? So with that, we will wrap up this episode and go take on the world.
All right. I definitely had a good time.
Thanks for coming, man.
You're welcome.
Hold on, stop.
Welcome back to the Shit Show 2.0.
Okay, Boomer.
Damn millennials. Wow.
Did not know that. Even flirters who are obviously mentally ill.
Oh, this is gonna go downhill real quick.